That morning, the central station of Orinthus capital was a hive of frantic energy. Train whistles cut through the air, children cried, and announcements echoed in a relentless loop. It was a symphony of chaos, of departures, and hurried beginnings. But inside the business class lounge, the world was a different story. It was softer, calmer. Velvet seats seemed to absorb the noise from outside, and warm, amber lights cast a gentle glow, like a quiet sunrise. The air smelled of freshly roasted coffee. Here, men in crisp suits casually flipped through newspapers, while elegant women in silk scarves sipped cappuccinos with practiced grace. And in a far corner, almost invisible to the room, sat a man who didn't seem to belong. His coat was a plain, ash color, and looked coarse to the touch. His shoes were worn from many miles, and his hands were bare, without a single piece of jewelry. Yet, his face was a picture of peace. His eyes were gentle, thoughtful, and held a strange depth. He was reading a small note, occasionally lifting his head to observe the room with a serenity that felt entirely out of place amidst all this luxury. A staff member walked by, glanced at him once, and then did a double take. He just didn't fit the typical image of a business-class traveler. At least, not in their eyes. Soon, an announcement called for business-class passengers to board the North-South Express. The lounge manager, a young woman named Melissa, stepped forward to check tickets. She greeted the man in the tailored suit next to him with her brightest, most polished smile. But when she reached the man in the ash-colored coat, that professional smile vanished, as if it had never been there. "Sir, this area is for business-class passengers," she said, her voice cold and sharp. He simply handed her his ticket. It was valid, but Melissa's brow furrowed in suspicion. "Perhaps you picked up someone else's ticket," she suggested. "Business class isn't for everyone." Heads began to turn. A few people discreetly raised their phones. Sensing drama, a quiet tension started to fill the room. The man spoke slowly, his voice gentle but firm. "I believe the seat is mine." Melissa smirked, lowering her voice but making sure it was just loud enough for others to hear. "A man like you, in business class? How strange." Behind her, the ticket inspector rescanned the ticket. A green light blinked. "It's legitimate," he murmured, surprised. Melissa's jaw tightened. She stepped aside stiffly, bitterness lacing her words. "Sit wherever you want." The man simply bowed his head and walked toward the train, without showing a single trace of anger or embarrassment. Inside the business class carriage, elegance was everywhere. The seats were wide, the lights were soft, and a faint scent of peppermint hung in the air. The man placed his small bag in the overhead compartment, sat down by the window, and opened a notebook. His handwriting was tiny, but beautifully neat. Melissa passed by his seat many times, deliberately ignoring him each time. When she offered hot towels to the other passengers, she placed his at a rude distance, barely on the edge of his table. An elderly passenger sitting nearby frowned at her behavior, but the man just smiled, seemingly untouched by her pet. Her resentment finally spilled over when breakfast was served. She shoved the tray onto his table so roughly that the water glass nearly toppled over. "Hope the food suits your taste," she said, her voice dripping with thinly veiled mockery. He looked up and answered softly, "Thank you." His calmness only seemed to aggravate her more. It made her feel small, and she hated it. The train entered a long, dark tunnel. The lights flickered, and passengers instinctively steadied themselves. When it emerged back into the daylight, a crisp announcement rang through the carriage. Approaching Lindor Senate Station. Passengers began to press against the windows, curious. Outside, a long line of people had gathered. Flags were fluttering in the breeze, and a grand honor arch gleamed under the sun. A formation of black escort vehicles stood gleaming, ready. It was a national-level ceremony, a reception of the highest honor. Who is being welcomed like this? Someone whispered in awe. Melissa frowned, looking out the window. "No one important is on this train." Before she could finish her sentence, a breathless ticket inspector rushed over to her. "Melissa, you need to see this." He held out his phone. On the screen was a photo of a man standing before thousands of people, dressed in deep blue national regalia. reviewing an honor guard. It was a face she had seen just minutes ago. Her smile died instantly. Beneath the image, the caption read, "Prime Minister of Ladera, Armonte." The man in the ash coat, her hands began to tremble. The train slowed to a halt. The platform was lined with high-ranking officials. A sea of cameras waited. Every single lens pointed toward the business class door. The man rose slowly from his seat, adjusting his collar with quiet dignity. Melissa approached him, her voice cracking. I didn't know." He looked at her, his eyes as calm and still as water. "If you had known, would you have treated me differently?" She froze. All the excuses she had prepared, all her words, vanished. He spoke gently, but his words struck her to the core. People deserve respect simply because they are humanot, because of their title or the clothes they wear. Then he stepped off the train. The honor guard saluted sharply. Cameras flashed like 1,000 stars, and he bowed humbly to the crowd, as if he were no one special at all. The other passengers watched in stunned silence. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others quietly wiped tears from their eyes. Melissa stood frozen, her hands a-scold, her heart sinking into a deep abyss. That day, the nation's headlines were all about the grand reception for Prime Minister Armonte. But what really set the internet on fire was not the ceremony. It was the video. The video of how he had been judged, ignored, and looked down upon. All because of a simple coat. In the press conference that followed, his single statement became a powerful reminder that echoed across the entire country. A business class seat does not define a person's worth, but how we treat others defines our own. Thank you for watching. Remember to treat everyone with kindness. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that make you think.